What is a pattern interrupt? What's it used for? And can it really help? Find out in this show. Hey, I'm Mike Sweet from mikesweet.co.uk, giving you the edge in life and business with NLP and psychology. Today's show is all about pattern interrupts, interrupting someone's pattern on purpose. Now, before we dive into pattern interrupt, I think it's important to understand that we are pattern creating monsters. Everything we do lays out a pattern. We run our lives based on patterns. It's a way that we fast track through life without needing to think about every single process. Let's face it, if what we did was good enough last time, then it's probably easiest if we just follow that same routine. It allows us to do shortcuts. Patterns allow us to run autonomously and automatically without our conscious brain needing to kick in as much. You see, we do need patterns, but patterns also can control us, and we can get wrapped up in certain unhelpful patterns that can be difficult to break. Let's face it, if a pattern that we have hardwired is automatic and unconscious, it can be very hard to break. But you see, when we run our patterns, if they are helpful, then that's great. If they are negative, then we need to break them or help other people break their negative patterns. Because that's where the real magic is in pattern interrupts. But let's have a quick look how we can use pattern interrupts ourselves. Now, let's take the pattern that most of us have a bit of structure for that we can relate to. And that's getting up in the morning. Perhaps we'll have a certain time set on the alarm or a certain number of alarms set because we don't plan on getting up. And then the 6 o'clock alarm goes off and the alarm goes out, the same pattern because the phone's in the same place with the same ringtone. And we turn it off in the same way that we do every day. Then it goes off again at 5 past. And the same alarm comes out for the same pattern to touch the same phone in the same place to turn it off again. Now, whatever your pattern is, you might do this 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 times until you do finally get up. But let's take those people who get up at 25 past. I'm late. They're charging around. The same thing that they do every single day. So the pattern needs to change. But remember what I said about it becoming automatic and unconscious. And it's almost if those patterns drive us. So how do you begin to flip that? Well, you are running your own brain. You are operating your own body. You need to actively change that pattern. So, set your alarm for a couple of minutes past 6 rather than at 6. There's change number 1. Then go and move your phone or your alarm clock right across the other side of the room, or perhaps even on the landing, where if you leave it going off too long, it'll wake the rest of the house. So then, when your alarm goes off in the morning, your alarm goes out as it normally does to turn it off, it's not there. The pattern has changed. So, I'm famous for saying things that don't make sense, but changes create changes. What then happens because something's different is you have to bounce out of bed. You have to go and find your phone, which you'll be in probably a bit of a blur about, and then you will turn your phone off. So your pattern is already changing. So now what do? You'll probably have those elastic attached to your pajamas wanting to drag you back into warmth. So before that happens and you go back to your default pattern, remember your body wants to take you back to what it knows. Because if it was good enough to keep you there or good enough before, then you might as well keep it there. It's a great position from evolutionary standpoint. If what worked has kept you here, just carry on doing that. So the idea here is to put another pattern in place. Then what are you going to do? Perhaps it's drink a large glass of water, that you've got the glass ready and you know what tap you're going to use in what bathroom or downstairs. Perhaps it's do a big stretch and a big yawn and take 4 big deep breaths and then go downstairs. See, when you create or imagine a new process, it's very easy to break a pattern. You just need something to give it that initial jolt. Can you see how that works? So let's have another look at another type of pattern interrupt. And this is a linguistic pattern interrupt. Let's talk about someone who does sales. and you're a sales guy, you pick up a sales girl, you pick up the phone on a regular basis, you make 1,000 calls and you say, "Hi, my name's John or Jane, I'm calling from the XYZ company. Can you tell me who deals with X?" Now, you'll probably have a certain type of script or a way that you say something because it's your pattern. But the people that you are calling also have a pattern. They know when that phone rings from those phone numbers, it's probably going to be a sales call. So what pattern do they switch into? They switch into the immediate no, and they're thinking, "Hi, I'm X from Y, can I speak to?" And they turn you to email and do whatever because that's the pattern that they tell everyone. So your pattern, which is most people's pattern, hits someone else's pattern, and the default answer is no, go away. So how do you break that? Now, there are many different ways, but you need to start your conversation differently in a way that they've never had before. So you could do something depends who you're calling at what level. But you could say, "Hello, I called to speak to John, but before you put me through, I'm having a chat with the office colleagues, and what was your favourite film from the 80s? Talk about a pattern interrupt. How many times do you think that person's picked up and someone's asked them a question like that? I'm guessing never. So when you break someone's pattern, you allow them to think for themselves and open that up. So anything that's different can create a pattern interrupt. So think about how you can use that. Now let's look at another pattern interrupt that's used. I've seen Richard Bandler use it a number of times, and he uses it quite frequently, but to massive advantages. And he's able to interrupt someone's pattern when they're telling them about a problem. You see, people who have depression or have anxiety or have OCD or are struggling to lose weight or can't quit smoking, whatever it is, they'll have a narrative attached to that, a pattern in which they describe it in a certain way. Because it's what they do. So when someone talks about their depression or their anxiety, they know exactly where it came from, how long it happened, why it's causing them, all the issues. And they'll have a pattern and a narrative that goes with that. So one of the things Richard does is he'll change that pattern quite quickly by making them laugh or doing something provocative. Tony Robbins will throw a cup of water in your face 3 or 4 times while you're talking about your depressive state. Now think about these patterns and pattern interrupts and why that's important. Because someone could be talking, think back to a time where someone was telling you about their summer holiday or vacation or engagement, and they're really in it, the emotion was coming out, they were loving explaining everything that went on. And without much thought, because you didn't think about pattern interruption, you said something like, "Oh, when my auntie went to Magaluf, she lost her flip-flops and they were expensive ones." And then the person that you're speaking to, that you've interrupted their pattern, has now completely lost what it was they were going to say. Gone, as if by magic. Because when someone's on a roll in a pattern and you break that, it's very hard for them to go back to that pattern. They can do it, but it's very difficult to go back to. So a pattern interrupt, we use them all the time accidentally. It's almost like mismatching. I cover that in another one of the videos, which I'll put a link to in the bottom. But when you mismatch, you can knock someone off track. So it can be beneficial if someone's going off on a tangent, you need to bring them back to it, you can. If someone's running a certain pattern that's unhelpful to them or others, you can interrupt that pattern. And what's really interesting that I keep saying, and in all the videos and vlogs and blogs and podcasts, is a memory is only a memory of the last time you remembered it. A memory is only a memory of the last time you remembered it. So this means when that memory is re-remembered, and this time has got lots of pattern interrupts at certain stages, that memory becomes very different. So when a person is telling you about their problem or issue, and the last time they remembered it's full of pattern interrupts, and comedy and humour and provocation, you'll find that they'll remember it and restructure that memory very differently. So there you have it, pattern interrupts, something that you can begin to apply. Now remember, in order to learn NLP, the only way to do it is by experience. Doesn't matter how many videos you watch, how many podcasts you listen to, how many books you read, you have to apply and do it. So where do you start? Well, if you head over to mikesweet.co.uk/sign up, pop your details in the email box and you'll receive weekly trainings, practical tips for you to take little pieces and begin to implement and run with those so you really begin to grow and learn in these skills and use them every day. Just imagine how impactful that will be. And they'll always be free and hopefully they'll always be helpful. So go over and check that out. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up in the video because it really does matter. This is a new channel. Please do put a comment in the box and obviously subscribe. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Mike C. Sweet. So let's get connected. Speak soon. Bye for now.